ahanyahani bhutani gacchanti hayamalayam śeṣāḥ icchanti kimaścaryamatah param.
Today, let us sit with one of the most piercing verses in all of Sanskrit literature. It comes from the Mahabharata and it goes like this. Ahani ahani bhutani gacchanti iha yamalayam śeṣāḥ icchanti kim āścaryam atah param. Day after day, beings depart this world for the abode of Yama, the Lord of Death, and those who remain behind desire to live forever. What greater wonder could there possibly be than this? Let us first taste the words themselves, because the poetry here is doing philosophical work. Ahani ahani means day after day. The word for day is repeated, and in Sanskrit that repetition means every single day, without exception, without holidays. Bhutani means beings, and it comes from the root bhu, which means to become. So beings are literally those who have become, and the word itself carries the secret. Whatever has become must one day unbecome. Gacchanti means they go, and notice it is present tense, not they will go someday in the future. They are going right now as we speak. Iha means here, in this very world, before our own eyes. Yamalayam means the dwelling place of Yama. Alaya means a home, an abode, the same word you hear in Himalaya, the abode of snow. Then comes the devastating second line. śeṣāḥ. This is my favorite word in the verse. It comes from the root shish, meaning to be left over. The living are called quite simply the leftovers, the remainder. Not the strong, not the blessed, not the special, just those who have not yet been taken. Sthavaram means permanence, fixity. It comes from the root sta, to stand. In Sanskrit thought, all creation is divided into sthavara, the immovable things like mountains and trees, and jangama, the moving creatures like us. And icchanti means they desire. So the leftovers, moving, mortal creatures desire the permanence of stone. Kim āścaryam atah param. What wonder, what astonishment could be greater than this? Now, where does this verse come from? The setting is unforgettable. The 5 Pandava brothers are in exile in the forest, desperately thirsty. Nakula finds a beautiful lake. A mysterious voice warns him, "Answer my questions before you drink." He ignores it, drinks and falls dead. Sahadeva follows, then Arjuna, then mighty Bhima, each one too thirsty, too proud to stop. Finally, Yudhishthira, the eldest, arrives to find all 4 of his brothers lying dead beside the water. The voice belongs to a Yaksha, a spirit guarding the lake, who is secretly Dharma himself, the god of righteousness, Yudhishthira's own divine father, testing him. And Yudhishthira, though his heart is breaking, stops. He answers question after question in the famous dialogue we call the Yaksha Prashna. And then comes this question, Kim āścaryam? What is the greatest wonder in the world? Think about what Yudhishthira does not say. He does not name a miracle, a god, a mountain, the stars. Standing over the bodies of his 4 brothers, he says, "The greatest wonder is that everyone watches everyone else die, every single day, and still, each person secretly believes it will not happen to them." He is not pointing a finger at others, he includes himself. He too, at that very moment, is a śeṣāḥ, a remainder, still half planning a long future. And here is the deep psychological insight hidden in one small word. The verse does not say people believe they will not die. It says icchanti, they desire not to die. Nobody, if you ask them directly, denies their own death. The delusion does not live in our beliefs. It lives deeper, in our wishes, in the way we fill our calendars, postpone our apologies, and save our best things for later. That is why no argument ever cures it. You cannot reason a person out of a desire. This single verse anticipates so much of what the modern world discovered much later. The psychologist Ernest Becker wrote an entire Pulitzer-winning book called The Denial of Death, arguing that human culture is largely a project for managing the terror of mortality. Researchers today call it the optimism bias. We accurately estimate other people's risk of death and quietly exempt ourselves. Tolstoy wrote a whole novella, The Death of Ivan Ilyich, about a man who always knew the logic, all men are mortal, but was stunned to discover it applied to him personally. The Roman Stoics practiced Memento Mori, remember death, for exactly this reason. The Buddha prescribed Maranasati, mindfulness of death, as a daily meditation. Yudhishthira said it all in 32 syllables, standing by a lake. So how do we live this verse instead of merely admiring it? Let me offer you some questions to carry. Where in your life are you behaving like stone, like a stavara, postponing a conversation, nursing a grudge, delaying a joy, on the silent assumption of unlimited time? And remember the last time death brushed close to you. A funeral, sad news, an obituary. You felt that sharp clarity about what really matters. How long did it last? A day? An hour? What exactly pulled you back into the trance? And here is a simple practice. Each morning, before you reach for your phone, take 1 minute. Say to yourself, Ahani, Ahani. This is one of the days. I am śeṣāḥ, a guest here, a remainder, not a permanent resident. Then ask, given that, what one thing today must not be postponed? And each evening ask, if today had been the last, what would I regret not having said or done? If something rises up and it is still possible, a message, an apology, a thank you, do it before you sleep. This is not a morbid practice. It is the opposite. Notice what happened at the lake. It was precisely the man who looked at death without flinching, whose brothers were restored to life. That is the promise hidden in the story. When we stop pretending to be stone, the days stop blurring together. Priorities become unclouded. Love stops waiting. Kim āścaryam atap param. The wonder is our forgetting. The wisdom and the freedom is in remembering.
अहन्यहनि भूतानि गच्छन्ति हयमालयम् शेषास्थावरमिच्छन्ति किमाश्चर्यमतः परम्